I'm a bird watcher. At least, that's how I've always defined myself. Some people go fishing. Some collect stamps. Some get drunk every weekend. But me, I disappear into the woods with nothing but binoculars, a notebook, and patience. Watching birds was my sanctuary, my one escape from a world that never shuts up. There's a rhythm to it, a kind of meditative silence where the wind brushes against the branches and a flash of color between the leaves makes your whole week worth living. But the day I walked into the state forest just outside of town, looking for a rare wood warbler rumored to nest there, something shifted. It was supposed to be just another Saturday morning, me scribbling notes about wingspans and calls, maybe snapping a blurry photo or two. Instead, it turned into a nightmare I can't wake up from. You see, bird watching teaches you to notice things other people ignore, the tiny rustle of feathers, the difference between a robin's call and a thrush's. That same awareness, that trained patience, is what doomed me. I noticed something that day I should never have seen, and once I saw it, it noticed me too. I'm a bird watcher. What I saw in the trees will haunt you. I say that now like a confession, like a curse, because that's exactly what it's become, a haunting that never ends. I remember the forest first felt wrong when I realized it was silent. It didn't happen all at once. At first I thought maybe I'd just walked into a quiet patch, the kind where birds spook off, because a hawk is nearby. But the deeper I walked, the heavier the silence got, like sound itself had been no warblers, no sparrows, not even the irritating buzz of gnats. Just me, crunching leaves underfoot, each step sounding too loud, like the forest was holding its breath. And then came the knocking. At first I thought it was a woodpecker, but the rhythm was too slow, too deliberate. It was like someone tapping their knuckles against hollow bark. Knock. 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 Raised my binoculars, scanned the trees, and there it was. At least I thought it was. A shape in the branches, thick, bulky, hunched like an owl with its wings folded wrong. I leaned into my binoculars, adjusting the focus, trying to make out the feathers. Only there weren't any. What I saw instead was the outline of shoulders, of arms bent backward, of something crouching high up but facing me directly. My pulse spiked, but I told myself it was a trick of the light, until it tilted its head. Slowly, too slowly, and I saw the eyes. They weren't round and black like a bird's. They were pale, wide, disturbingly human. And they didn't blink. They locked on mine through the glass, and in that instant, it wasn't me watching the forest anymore. The forest was watching me. I froze, binoculars shaking in my hands. Do you know that sick drop in your gut when you realize you've made a mistake you can undo? That's what flooded through me. Because the longer I stared, the more wrong it looked. Its limbs weren't just long, they were too long, stretching out and clutching the bark with fingers, not talons. Its mouth, if that's what it was stretched thin, curving upward, like a smile carved into skin. I yanked the binoculars down, telling myself to breathe, to blink, to reset. But when I lowered them, the branch was empty. The shape was gone. I scanned the trees again, frantic, hard hammering, nothing. And that's when the whisper came. Low, mocking. So faint, I thought it was the wind at first. But no, the wind doesn't shape your name. It doesn't tickle your name into a voice that sounds like it is coming from right behind you. My stomach nodded as I turned my head, slow as rust, and the trees behind me were empty. I should have run then, but my legs wouldn't move. My body felt trapped, paralyzed by some unseen leash. And then came the breathing. Hot. Wet. Right at my ear. I spun, desperate to catch whoever roar, whatever was, behind me. Still nothing. Just empty space. And then, above me, branches creaked. Something heavy shifted in the canopy, and I realized, too late, it hadn't disappeared. It had moved. It was above me. Panic broke through the paralysis, and I bolted. I didn't care about my gear, my notebook, nothing. I ran down the trail, lungs burning, feet slipping on wet leaves. But the forest didn't sound empty anymore. We detached steps, something followed, its footfalls too heavy for a bird, too purposeful for an animal. Every time I looked back, I saw nothing but I could hear it, matching my pace, never falling behind. Then came the worst sound of all. Silence again. I stopped, chest heaving, ears straining. The forest was dead quiet, and for a moment, I thought maybe I'd imagined it all. Then a branch snapped. Not 10 feet to my right. I whipped my head around, and there it was, halfway down a tree trunk. Limbs splayed at impossible angles, head twisted completely backward, its mouth stretched wide in that same carved smile. I screamed and ran harder than I've ever run in my life. The trees blurred. The trail vanished beneath me, but I didn't stop. I didn't dare. I could feel it behind me, the weight of its stare drilling into my spine, the whisper curling into my ears, though I couldn't make out the words anymore. My body screamed for me to stop, to collapse, but terror drove me faster, until finally the tree line broke and I saw my car. I fumbled the keys, nearly dropped them, shoved myself inside, slammed the lock, and dared to look up. In the rearview mirror, framed perfectly by the glass, it stood in the branches above the trail, tilting its head, smiling, watching. I wish that was where the nightmare ended. I wish I could tell you that I never went back into the forest, that it left me alone once I crossed that threshold into the safety of steel and concrete. But the truth is, whatever it was, it followed me. That night, lying in bed, I woke to the sound of tapping slow, deliberate knocks against my bedroom window. 3 stories up. I told myself it was a tree branch, maybe the wind, but when I pulled back the curtain, there were no branches near that window, just glass. And behind the glass, the faintest shape of a pale face, smiling. I staggered back, heart in my throat, and by the time I blinked, it was gone. But the knocking didn't stop. It's followed me ever since at work, at home, even when I traveled out of state. Always the knocking. Always the whispers curling my name when I'm alone. Sometimes I catch glimpses of it reflected in mirrors or glass, perched just out of reach. I don't know what it wants or why it chose me. All I know is that once you see it, it never lets go. And now, by listening to me, by knowing this story, maybe it knows you too. If you ever go bird watching, if you ever feel silence pressing in too heavy, don't look up. Don't listen, because once it notices you, there's no escaping it. And as you sit there, watching tease, ask yourself one thing: are you really alone right now? Or is there something behind you, tilting its head, smiling? So, that is my warning, my curse passed to you through this confession. I'm a bird watcher. What I saw in the trees will haunt you, and maybe now it will haunt you, because the forest is never empty, the silence is never harmless, and the eyes that stare from the trees are not always the eyes of birds. If you feel a knock tonight, slow and deliberate against your window or your walls, don't open the curtains. Don't try to see it, because once you lock eyes, it never stops. It never forgets. And if you still think you're brave enough for more, if you think you can handle something even darker than this, 10, go ahead. Click the next story, but don't say I didn't warn you, because some nightmares don't just end when the screen fades to black, they follow you forever.